One thing you talk about the money, and these baseball players are human, and after you've made $8, $9, $10 million a year for 3 or 4 years, I'm afraid that a lot of the players, they get a little complacent.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that intensity to go out and play the game.
Yeah.
And you won't see that intensity come back until they have a free agent year. And then they start playing really hard because they have motivation to do so. But it's keeping that motivation year in and year out. I'm not talking about all players, but there's a lot of players that kind of get in there and they're not just going to be as intense and play the game as hard as they should.
Yeah.
Because basically they're set for life. And so there is a little complacency that gets in the game, and I don't like to see that either.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you get the kids that are like in AAA and AA and stuff like that all of a sudden, well, dude, I can do the job too. I want to get to the majors. I can take your spot. And so then that's where you get, and where I love spring training, is that you get all the kids, and then you get these veterans, and the kids are like, oh, cool, nice to meet you. How you doing?
I'm going to come
take your job.
Yeah. But he's saying that underneath his breath. Though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's not going to tell the guy that.
Yep.
But that's the whole idea. There's always somebody out there wanting to take your job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like today. I'll give you a good example of the San Diego Padres at this point in time. I'm just because of the sake of injuries and what's happened this year, to them, with salary reductions, you're getting a lot of young players that are getting that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to see what they make of those opportunities.
Absolutely.
You don't get very many.
Yep.
You might get just one in your whole life. And it's that one you've been dreaming about since you were 7 years old. And sometimes I'm really, really surprised that I don't see more out of, when you get your one opportunity, I would think I would see more.
Yes.
Out of some of these kids.
Yep.
More energy, more, just more performance. And, and I'm not seeing it. And, and one thing I'm disappointed about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to Shaun about, because when Dave Roberts was here, I'm just going to use him as an example, is that when he was here and he was the Padres leadoff hitter, you saw this fire, you saw this intensity. Like every time he got on base, every time he was beating out a single at first, you saw this kind of energy come off of him, and he was pumping his fist, happy to get a single or stuff like that. And you look at some of these kids with the Padres, I just don't see any excitement. I don't see anybody out there going, happy to get a single or happy to get a productive out. Nobody's out there going, yeah, I did my job. I feel good about it.
And I agree with both of you. I mean, that's what you're missing. You want some electricity out of the players you see, and any good baseball fan can watch some of these young kids, and you get a pretty good idea who has a chance of making it and who doesn't. Either by mannerisms, how they take care of how they approach their at bat. Do they have an idea? I mean, if you look at Cabrera, our young shortstop, a lot of energy there, and he's still learning a lot. He's still awfully young. Tony Gwynn Jr. is doing a lot much better.
Bet that sounds a little weird saying that. Huh?
Yeah. You got to make sure that I say Junior so everybody knows who I'm talking about. Because Tony isn't making a comeback yet. But Junior's done a good job in his role there, and he has a great approach to his at bats, and he's still learning. He's still young, and but he's adapting. He's doing the right things. Mm-hmm. And you look at our left fielder Headley.
Yeah.
Chase, and if you look at Chase Headley, he shows signs. I know he works hard, but he just hasn't. His approach at the plate is not there yet.
Yes.
And he's still got to learn. But I would like to see a little bit more fire out of these young guys. And you don't see too much from Chase Headley.
Yeah,
I want to see more of that.
Yeah, like Will Venable or Kyle Blanks, two names that Will Venable. I think it was like a year ago or 2 years ago when he was brought up the first time, he looked like he had some kind of promise. Then also his lack of focus or something like that by being sent back down and bringing back up. I'm not sure if his focus, he's kind of lost his train of thought at the plate.
Well, you're not seeing the same energy, the same aggressiveness that you need to see if you're going to be a big league ball player. Like you're going to see from Matt Latos, the young kid that we brought up. He pitched the other night.
Yep, he looked good.
He looked good. But you just kind of tell from his mannerisms and the energy that he shows. Mm-hmm. And that's what you want to see. You want to see some guys with some fire and going out there playing the game the right way, playing it aggressively.
Jake Peavy.
Yes, exactly. And you need more of that out on the field. And when you don't see it, whether it be from a Josh Gears, a pitcher, Will Venable's not really showing me that fire I'm looking for. Kyle Blanks doesn't even know where he belongs yet. Yeah. And I'm not faulting him. He needs opportunity, but I need to see more from just the mental side of the game.
Yeah.
And the mannerisms than I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. They seem a little bit complacent and trying to be calm and. And I say the hell with that. Why don't you go out and play the game like you're supposed to?
Go balls to the wall.
Thank you.
And when you look at it and you're talking about complacent, now are these guys being kind of complacent because of the fact that the Padres are struggling now, and they're like, well, we're up here already, so we're not doing that great, so why should we play hard? Is that, I mean, it's a wrong mind concept to go into, but are some of these kids at that stage? Because I mean, another team you can compare this team to is kind of like the Pittsburgh Pirates. Young talent, but their talent comes up, no matter how bad they're doing, they seem to go all out. Right. They lay everything on the line, and you see the concept with the Padres, and it's just like, well, where's your young hunger?
Well, I think your young hunger has to come from veteran leadership, which you don't have on this ball club.
Yep.
And I think that's a real problem. I mean, you need a little bit of fire and brimstone, I think, in there from your veteran players. These young kids are still they're not sure they got to mimic veterans. I mean, but that's one of the problems they're having right now. And everybody's kind of calm and quiet. They find themselves doing the same thing.
Kind of like their coach?
Yeah, kind of. That's Buddy Black is not a brimstone fire guy, pretty calm. And so what you're seeing, and any time you're struggling like the last bottom of the lineup is, especially for the Padres, when you're not swinging well, you're not really playing too well, you look like you're not trying. It's a deception. Sure, they're giving 100%, but there's more there. There's a different way, there's a different approach you should have. And I'm sure if they were 10 games up and in first place, you might see a little more of that cockiness and fire and brimstone I'm talking about.
Like at the beginning of the year, you kind of saw that when they started off the year.
Right.
You're like, oh, this is the team that can win probably about 80 games, and then all of a sudden you're like looking, where did everybody go?
Well, yeah, the injuries and stuff will deflate a team. But I don't care who you are. If you're a young kid getting your opportunity to be a big league baseball player, I don't care who's around you.
Yep.
You should be out there like you're seeing Tony Gwynn Jr. do, like Cabrera's doing leading off. You should see that from every single one of these young players. Going out there and controlling your destiny, controlling your own future.
Yeah.
And I don't see him doing it.
Correct.
I don't see him going out there and inserting and putting all the effort in that you need to be a big league ball player.
Yep. The DuCross Brothers here with Cy Young Award winner and former San Diego Padre Randy Jones.